Well, some shocking news coming in. The International Paralympic Committee has derecognized the Paralympic Committee of India. Well, the world body has given infighting and a chaotic and arbitrary way of functioning within the Paralympic Committee of India as the reason for derecognizing the Indian Federation. What's more shocking is that this is the third time that the Indian body has been derecognized by the world body. Now, this of course would mean that it will have a major impact on India, as Indian athletes will not be able to participate in any world events till the ban is lifted. Remember, next month the World Blind Games will happen in South Korea, which Indian players are likely to miss. What's more, the Sports Ministry in fact has also issued a show cause notice to the Paralympic Committee of India or the PCI, and they have to respond by the end of today. Failing so, the Sports Ministry will also derecognize them, that too next week. In fact, we've got Mr. Chandrasekhar, the Secretary General of the Paralympic Committee of India, speaking to us. Sir, this is the third time that India's Paralympic Committee is being derecognized. That's shocking. What's happening?
Sure, madam, it's a shocking news that what we got last night, but we do not understand as to why they have taken such a hard decision on us. There was some internal conflict within our Paralympic Committee, which was to be solved within ourselves. But it is a shocking news because the most affected people will be the participants. They have been told they cannot take part anywhere in the world, wherever the IPC approved or the sanctioned events take place. But we will be doing our job in requesting them to resolve the issue, and we will inform them as to what actually has happened here.
So
earlier there were two parties, and they had come down and solved the issue and found out who the Junayan is who has to be recognized. But now there is a small conflict in us, and we had to suspend our president for his negligence and other things. And as such, we had informed them this is what has happened, ongoing incidents in PCI, Paralympic Committee of India. But to our shock, we have received a suspension letter last night, which we will be taking up a decision shortly, maybe today, tomorrow, and try to patch them up and see that at least they do not stop our participants taking part in the events, because the World Blind Games is coming, as you rightly said.
So thanks for those assurances, but the fact remains that, of course, you did sack the chairman, the president of the Paralympic Committee of India, but they're still talking about infighting and an arbitrary way of functioning. I mean, what could have led to that?
We really don't know as to what has gone up to that stage, madam, because they are not supposed to do that, take such an harsh action against us. But they have taken, but we are going to sit down today evening and go in depth as to why such a big action has been taken on us.
Correct. Mr. Chandrasekhar, my final question to you, it's not only the world body that has derecognized you, but now even the Sports Ministry has sent you a show cause notice, and they're going to be derecognizing you if you don't answer to that. I mean, so clearly there is a major disconnect not only with the world body but also with the Sports Ministry here.
Yes, madam. It all started with that Ghaziabad event. And from there on, things are gone up to the firing stages, so that now we will be answering the ministry. We had already answered them. Again, we had to answer the show cause letter, which we will be giving a satisfying reply as to where went wrong and what actions we have taken against those who have done this wrong, and what else we will be doing in the future for such an event.
Correct, sir. Because
ministry should help us out, madam. We are depending upon ministry all these years, and even now we depend upon the ministry, and I'm sure they will help us out. They will come to our rescue.
So, but you don't have that much time, considering the blind games are just next month.
Not for us, rescue is for the participants.
Correct. So, like I said, you don't have that much time, considering that the World Blind Games are just next month. Well, we certainly hope that the world body listens in to you. Well, let's just quickly get Suprita Das on the very same topic. Suprita, if you could just, hear me. Do you think that this also is a repercussion about the fact of what happened, the incident that happened in Ghaziabad, the fact that the National Paralympic Games were held in such a shoddy way, and there was so much of apathy towards India's Paralympic athletes?
Well, Disha, the way those games, were conducted, that came in as a shock, not just for the athletes who were participating. They didn't have enough ramps, which are really basic facilities that are made available to such athletes at such competitions. There were no basic ramps. Remember, there were really bad toilet facilities and facilities for accommodation. The accommodation arrangements made for the athletes. One can't say if it's a direct repercussion of that incident or of the way those games were conducted, but yes, that is the first picture that comes to the mind, because it wasn't very long time back that those games in Ghaziabad were conducted, and one would imagine that the International Paralympic Committee did take notice of those games. Remember, we're also less than a year away from the Paralympics, which also will be held in Rio next year after the Summer Olympics. And what is shocking, you heard Mr. Chandrasekhar, the Secretary General of the PCI, speaking to us, saying that they are going to try and make sure that the athletes do not suffer in the middle of this mess. But the fact is that this is the third time that this has happened, so clearly
Absolutely.
the Federation hasn't learned their lessons. This first, in fact, happened in 2012 before the Paralympics in London, and because the Paralympic Games were really close by, Ajay Makin, who was the sports minister at that point, stepped in. He was proactive about this, and he sort of spoke with necessary officials to try and get the ban lifted. Something similar also happened when Jitendra Singh was the sports minister, and even at that time there was a stopgap arrangement really that was made to make sure that the PCI gets the recognition of the world body back. Is that going to happen for the third time? We don't know. Like we said, a show cause notice has already been issued by the sports ministry, and now really there is no option but for the PCI to try and get its house in order. It's been exactly the same problem. In fact, the International Olympic Committee has the Paralympic Committee hasn't even mentioned the Ghaziabad Games and the way those games were conducted. They've clearly said that it's the infighting and there's the arbid and really random way the functioning of the federation happens is what has led to this derecognition. So there is no other way than to get really those two camps that are there, a part of the same federation, who keep approaching the sports ministry, separately for funding and for organizing events and things like that. So it is about it's up to the PCI now to get its house in order and make that happen as soon as possible, so that the athletes really do not suffer. Like you mentioned, the World Games will be held in Korea next month, and that's the first event that the Indian para athletes are likely to miss out on if this ban remains till that point.